Question. Could
Yep.
we also use, I know Rosie didn't get to the actual CMA, but once we're at that point and we're showing facts that this home right here, same bedroom, same bath, just like yours, you see how many days on market it took before it sold?
Yep.
Can we use that as like showing them like, look, the price that you have in mind, but look at these, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, explain to me a little bit more. Like, so.
So as Antonio was thinking like that price that he wanted, once we get to the CMA portion and we're showing them the facts that look at this house right here. See how this house is priced at 1.5. Now you said, Antonio, you needed to be in Texas in 2 months. This house was in contract in 30 days. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kind of
So,
using
so
that as
here's
a
what I would
tool.
suggest. Yeah,
Hmm.
for
You know,
sure. You
yeah.
have to be really mindful though of what
Okay.
you're in, like with intention, and you have to set the frame first. So what I mean by that is like when people go down that path, usually their intention is to be right. Yes. So
Yes.
I'm
Sure.
showing it's kind of like, hey, I'm entering into exhibit A. It's like you're the prosecutor and they're the defense. And you're trying to like prove them wrong. So you have to like set the frame
Yeah.
properly
Yeah.
prior to going down that path. And the way
Gotcha.
I would set the frame is I would be like, okay, well, again, because price is a strategy and an attempt to get the most. And I want to be clear, whatever you decide, Chris, I'm going to support you 100%. Right? The intention in this conversation is really to try to figure out together as a team how to position the property so that way we can maximize value for you. Now, before we go into the conversation with regards to price, and first, what I'd like to do is to go over with you specifically how it is a strategy. Would that be okay? Yeah. So let's say we choose to, we really have two strategies at our disposal. The first strategy is where we start higher and we come down. Now, there's nothing wrong with that strategy, Christopher. It's not bad. There are a few drawbacks, though. And I'd like to share them with you, not with the intention to persuade you, instead with the intention of equipping you so you can, again, make decisions you feel are best. And whatever you decide is fine. The first drawback is that it usually takes longer. And in fact, we actually have, now time out. Do you see what I just did there? I set the frame for
Yeah.
you to
You're
perceive
saying.
what I'm about to tell you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah. You're getting the position to what you're about to show. Yeah. I hear it.
So now here's the message. So let me explain to you what I mean, right? So when it takes longer, we see here, you see this property that's in the community that we reviewed and they're at 1.1? And you see over there, it says days on market. They've been on the market. They've actually done us, well, tell me this. How many days have they been on the market? Oh, it's been on the market for 65 days. Okay. Now here's the really cool part about that, Chris. They've done us a huge favor. Do you know what it is?
It tested the market for us.
Yeah, at a price, and it's not working. That's very helpful and useful to us. Tell me this, Chris. What would happen? What would it mean for you and your family if you were still sitting here 65 days from now and you didn't have an offer on this property?
We really need to be out in Texas. At least be in contract in the next 30 to be out there in 60.
Right. So with that being the case, does it seem like that strategy of starting high and coming down, does it seem like it would really serve your family with the time frame that you have?
As I look at the facts now, you're right.
Dang, brother. So look, you see what's happening?
Uh-huh.
You're going
They're
right into,
realizing it.
like to enter into exhibit A and B, but do you know what that creates? That creates you're like
I'm
the
right. Look at this.
yes, I'm right, you're wrong. And it also creates this dynamic where we're entering into like, evidence exhibit A and exhibit B. And they're like,
Mhm.
yeah, but I'm going to enter into, my defense exhibit A and exhibit B. And you start like fighting with each other. So by setting the frame, how it's a strategy in an attempt to get the most, and then going over the two strategies that they have at their disposal, and either one's okay. So what most people do is you go into those conversations like starting high is bad. And you think it's like you versus them to try to fight them with it. But when I say to you, Christopher, either one of these strategies are okay. And it's not like starting high is like bad per se. There are a few drawbacks though. And I'd like to review them with
Mhm.
you. My intention
Mhm.
in reviewing with you is not to persuade you either way.
Mhm.
Instead, it's just really to equip you with all the information you need so you can make the decision that suits you and your family best. And whatever you decide is okay. So notice, am I attached to that outcome?
No.
Does this feel like I'm right and you're wrong?
No.
No. Do you see the difference?
Yeah.
And then I go over the strategies and I'm like, like the issue with it, one of the drawbacks is that it takes longer. And in fact, we have an example of that. So we see here, now we go into the message. But if you don't set that frame, bro, you're just fighting with them.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're like, okay, so look, they've been on the market for 65 days. They haven't sold. And now this is very helpful to us because they've done us a huge favor. Do you know what it is? What's that? Well, they've tested the market for us at prices and it's not working. We can learn from that data. Tell me this. What would happen if we were still sitting here 65 days from now and we didn't have an offer on this home? What would that mean for you and your family? Gosh, and then look, now watch. So does it seem like that strategy would serve you and your family best?
You know what? Honestly, no.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Look, you told me. Yeah?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Then we go to the next strategy and we go over that. It's like, okay, the second strategy we have at our disposal is we can position it very competitively. By that, what I mean is very close to what's sold and closed most recently. And in fact, we do have some data there. We have the last closed sale at 975, and we have another one, which was, like 45 days ago. And that one sold at 980. And in doing so, what ends up happening is we force people to compete. Now, let me ask you a question. When people are competing, who usually wins in that negotiation, the seller or the buyer?
The buyer. I'm sorry, the seller.
Yeah, and why is that?
Because we have multiple offers that we can decide on.
That's exactly right. And you get to decide terms and conditions. Can I explain to you what I mean?
Sure.
Well, let's say we have 3 offers on the table. 2 are getting financing and 1's paying cash. Which one do you think we're going to go with?
I mean, if the cash offer is at our list price, I'd like to close faster.
Precisely, because the cash, you don't have to deal with
Yeah.
appraisals. You don't have to deal with, them getting approved for a loan. Now, let me ask you this. If there's 3 offers on the table, do you think we would have leverage to be able to dictate closing quicker?
Absolutely.
I see. And that is something that's important to you, correct?
Yes.
I understand. So would you want to put yourself in a position where you get to choose and have more leverage to ensure that you get, what you want, the time you want?
Yeah. That sounds like a better plan.
And which one of these 2 strategies do you think would help you to accomplish that?
Well, considering I'm not going to be accepting any offer unless one looks enticing, I mean, I'd be open to seeing multiple. So the second option.
Yeah, I agree with you. So we're in agreement now that the marketplace is showing us, based on what you're looking to accomplish and why, that second option would serve you best. So now it's just determining, where we're going to be at exactly. And then I would go into, do you want to go at 95 or just a little bit below and da-da-da. Do you see what I mean? But do you see how that's like a much more skillful, nuanced, intentional, and purposeful way versus they say, I want 111, and you're like, great, well, let's take a look at this home and it's sold for this. So do you really think that's real? You're just going to fight with them. And keep in mind that
and guess who's going to win that fight?
Yeah, they're always going to win. And you'll walk out being like, well, I showed them. They're so dumb. And I'm like, you're dumb. Right? Because you're like, and trust me, and Jose, we both used to do that when we were new at the game. We walk out and be like, well, how come they didn't see? They're so dumb. I know better than them. I got a C on a test and I have $1,000 and I'm not a felon yet.
And then what I've heard is from agents being like, well, they listed with somebody else, and guess what? They listed at a higher price, then they reduced it, and they sold at the same exact price that I told them that it would sell for. So therefore, I was right. I'm like, yeah, but you didn't get paid, and the other agent did.
Yeah. So you have to
So it's not about being right.
It's not about being right, bro. And trust me, that is a difficult thing to let go of because it's a human nature to want to be right because we're prideful by nature. You see what I'm saying? So you have to let go of that. So that's so first I wanted to address that with you, Chris, hey, be mindful of what your intention is. And then second, the way it works is we have to set the frame first. Then we give them the message. Then we give them the influence objective. Here are the 2 options. What do you think? Now notice, I didn't tell you. I was like, yo, which one of these options do you think would serve you best based on the time frame that you want to make this happen? And you're like, well, I think the second one would. Yeah, I agree with you. So now it's just a question of specifically where we're going to get started at. And then I have that conversation with you, like, okay, cool. I'm like, great. Do you have any other questions before we take care of the appropriate paperwork? And then maybe there's objections there, whatever, we handle them and then we close. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But it's really, really important, guys.
Absolutely.
If you go in there thinking like I'm right and you're wrong, you will fight with people and it'll limit your capacity to do transactions and volume. And it's just ego, you know what I mean? It's pride and ego. And I find that wild. I find it wild that most people in real estate have an ego at all. Do you know what the average, the average agent in the United States makes $72,000 a year. A manager at Taco Bell makes 70 in California. Like, why do we think we're so like fantastic and smart? It's like, bro, what are you doing? All you had to do is get a C on a test and have $1,000 and not be a felon. Why are you walking in there thinking, like, trying to lead with authority? Why are you trying to go in there giving people financial advice? I talk to you guys. I know your guys' financial situation. You don't have master's degrees in economics. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what are we doing? Why are you fighting with people? Let go of like needing to be right or like trying to posture or anything. It's actually a really low form of influence.
Aaron, nice to meet you. And Noe here.
What up?
Hey, can I switch that frame on you real quick as far as having a seller who doesn't want to, doesn't matter when the property sells. So you go in there and you mention that, without any ego, you let them know that if you keep your home on the market at a certain price, you're not going to sell the property, right?
Yeah.
Then you come in and you tell them about the auction mentality or the
yeah, you give them the options and they're like, look, I don't care. Right. I don't have to sell it. Yeah. Well,
right.
Really
not that I don't have to sell it. They do have to sell it, but it's more like my father passed away and left me this house, but it doesn't matter when I sell it.
Yeah.
Right.
So, so the issue there for me, there's two places that can go. The first is it's an issue of motivation, and there's degrees of motivation. Right. So I've sold a lot of probates. We would do like 60 of those a year for a long time. And if there is an account where money's covering expenses for the property, that usually means very low motivation because they don't perceive it as though it's their money that's being spent, when in fact it is. It's part of their inheritance. Like the money that's going to like cover the property could be their money. Does that make sense?
Makes total sense. Yeah.
So in that particular instance, if it's like a niche like that, I want to be clear on that, and I need to know about that in pre-qual. And you'll start to see, because what people say and what they'll do is like usually it's oftentimes different. But when they're like, yeah, I'm not in a rush. I'm like, great. My intention is to help you. It's never to talk you into doing anything or twist your arm in any way. I guess I'm curious, just so I'm clear, because usually the only benefit in waiting is that if we wait, we'd be able to get more money. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
Right.
And then be quiet. You're like, okay. And if that's the case, then great. Like, we'll do it. If not, then we may need to like adjust the approach. Now, nobody has a crystal ball, myself included. And anybody who pretends that they do, they're not being honest with you, and you should probably like run away from them. At the same time, what I've noticed is by looking at market data and stats, we can see a direction that the marketplace is going. So what I'd like to do is to share with you some stats of what we're experiencing in our market. And my intention in doing that, again, is not to like create urgency or anything, just so that you're fully equipped and you can make decisions that you feel are best. Would that be okay? Yeah, that's fine. Well, the first thing that we're seeing in the marketplace is that inventory is going up. And in fact, in our marketplace here in this price point, it's gone up by X amount. Did you know that? No, I didn't know that. Yeah. Right, what's also true is we're at a 3-year low. Well, I mean, we've had 3 years of record low transaction volume. The last time we had this amount of transactions was 15 years ago. We had more transactions in 2008 during the Great Recession than we did in 2024 and the first half of 2025. Did you know that?
Wow. No.
Yeah. So when supply goes up and demand goes down, what usually happens to prices?
When prices go up.
Well, when supply goes up and demand goes down, what usually happens?
Right. When supply goes up and it goes down.
That's right.
That's
Now, the other
okay.
thing, factor, which is really interesting, and it happened about a month ago, and I know we have this deluge of like all this information and news and media. At the same time, was kind of a big deal. Is for the first time in 100 years, the United States credit rating was lowered. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah.
Nope.
Now, how does that affect the market? Well, the way that affects the market is that, I'm sure you know this, that the way we fund, our government is we borrow money, and the way we do that is we issue bonds. Well, if my credit rating goes down, what happens to the interest rate that I have to pay?
Well, that goes down too.
No, if my credit rating goes down, the interest I have to pay goes up.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So like, let's say you have a credit card and your credit rating goes down from a 800 to 700. What happens to the amount of interest that you have to pay?
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. So what happens is that means we have to pay more interest for the bonds, which means that'll affect the 10-year treasury note, which affects interest rates. You know what's interesting? For the last 3 years, people have been saying interest rates are going to come down. Have they?
No.
Nope.
No.
So the question is in light of all of that data, does it seem more probable? Because anything's possible. The question is directionally, does it seem more probable as time progresses that you'd be able to get more for this property? Or does it seem more probable as time progresses, you may actually get less?
Yeah, I could see that. Yep. I could see it getting moved. Yep.
Yeah. Now the second thing to consider is expenses, because I know that it seems like it doesn't cost me anything to carry, and I know that we have the good fortune of helping a lot of families. At the same time, there are a few considerations that I just want to make sure you're aware of in terms of your strategy and approach on getting it sold. So the first is that this was a homesteaded property for your family member, correct? It was their primary residence at the time of passing.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So because of that, they had the homestead tax exemption, and their taxes were very little. Based on what I'm seeing here in the tax rolls, it was only, like $1,200 a year.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know if you're aware of this. This is now a secondary home for you and the beneficiaries. So it no longer has the homestead tax exemption. It will be reassessed at its current value, and the taxes will go from $1,200 to about $5,000 to $6,000 a year. Did you know that?
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah.
No.
The second issue is that now that it's a secondary home for the family, insurance is different for secondary homes than it is for primary homes. So the insurance with a high degree of probability will also double or even triple. Did you know that?
Oh my God, no.
Yeah. So even though it
No.
feels like, this isn't costing any money, it's actually, when we think about it, let's think about it, $6,000, it's like $500 a month. And then the insurance is another like $3,000, it's another $200. And then just general maintenance and things like that nature. It's costing almost $1,000 a month to leave it empty.
Yeah.
Did you realize that?
No, good point, man. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, so that's something to consider, right? Because every month that goes by, now let me ask you this, and my intention in asking isn't to be nosy, just to see if I could give you any more information that could be helpful or useful in some way. Is there an account where money is going to pay for the expenses of the property, or are you, as the personal representative, or your family, like covering those expenses?
No, I'm covering them. There's no money.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Yeah. So being that that's the case, I mean, under normal conditions, would you gamble like $6,000 to $12,000 just to see if you can make like a little more? Or do you think it would be in your best interest to get it sold sooner rather than later in light of market conditions, extract the capital and put it into an asset that instead of costing you $12,000 a year could actually pay you $12,000 a year?
Yeah, that makes a little more sense. Sooner that rather than later. Yeah.
Yeah, precisely. And usually when families recognize kind of, both factors, market dynamics, and then costs, they come to the same conclusion that you do. So now the question is it seems like you've decided, and I agree with you, that it's in your best financial interest to get it sold sooner rather than later. So now the question is strategically, how do we position the property price-wise to make that happen? So I'd like to go over with you the two strategies that you have at your disposal so you can decide which one you feel is best, and whatever you decide, I'll support you.
That is awesome, man. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
So what are you aware of as we do that? Because I don't do it for myself. Like what?
No. Of course. What I noticed is you brought up three really, really good points, which is asking them questions around what their loss or what they're about to lose, which they didn't think about in this perspective, right? In this frame, which is awesome.
Yeah. And explaining to them what's happening in the market, because they're thinking, if I wait, okay. Right. But I know, because I have the good fortune, of talking to agents all across the country, some of them the most productive agents, top 1%, doing over $1 million in GCI. Bro, in every marketplace around the country, inventory is going up and demand is softening.
Yeah.
And for like 3 years ago in Jose's marketplace, sales are down 50%. 50.
Wow.
Another client I have, Ben, he did over $1 million last year. Bro, in his marketplace 3 years ago, down 60% from 3 years ago.
Jesus.
Like, that's just what it is, bro. So you have to be able to notice I was asking you questions to help you to self-discover. I'm not telling you.
Right.
And then once you realize, like, oh, this is how it's actually my best interest, then we shift over to, all right, well, let's have the conversation about positioning and price wise. And then I may go down the path of like, okay, and let's say, like, if we did get the property sold sooner rather than later, what would you do with the capital? Could you find a better place to put it than leaving it in an asset that's costing you money every month?
Right. Yeah. Now they're thinking different. Not thinking investment. They're thinking, right, future, which is a totally, again, another different way of looking at it.
That's right. So all of that was to set the frame.
Right.
Then I'm going to give you the message. And the message is, hey, here's the strategies, whatever. And then the influence objective, which is, what do you think we should do? Based on what you're looking to accomplish and why, in light of the information we've reviewed together as a team, and recognizing that there are a lot of headwinds in the marketplace, and it seems to be in your best interest to do this sooner rather than later, which one of these pricing strategies do you think would help you to accomplish your goals and objectives so you can extract capital and go find a better place to put it?
Beautiful.
And then shut up and they'll tell you, like, yeah, I guess we'd probably do that. Okay.
Listening presentation.
Okay.
Knock, knock. Hey, Antonio. This is Roji. We spoke over the phone. We had a meeting today at 3 o'clock. It is now 3 o'clock. It's fine. Nice to meet you.
Yeah. Nice to meet you. Come on.
Perfect. And do you want me to take my shoes off?
Please.